Good morning, children. Today we are going to start the most beautiful part of the plant, and that is the flower. Children, you know that we all love flowers because flowers are brightly colored, flowers are scented, but one more important function of flower is there. You know that? It is the reproduction because flowers are the reproductive part of the plant. So today we are going to learn here about the structure of a bisexual flower. So let's see. The flower is a specialized shoot in which the leaves are modified into floral structures. So first of all, there is a stalk on which all the floral parts of the flowers are there. So this structure is known as thalamus or the receptacle. Now, first whorl of the flower is the sepal, which is collectively known as calyx. Second whorl of the flower is the petals or the corolla. Third whorl of the flower is androecium, and fourth whorl is the gynoecium. So here see, this is the stalk or receptacle is here. The first whorl of the flower, sepals are there. They are collectively known as calyx. Then second whorl of the flower, this is known as corolla or petals. Then third whorl or flowers, they are the stamens or androecium. And fourth whorl of the flower, they are known as pistil or gynoecium. So these are the four important parts of a flower. Now flowers are said to be complete and incomplete. So what is a complete flower? The complete flower is one in which all the four whorls are present. That means sepals, petals, androecium and gynoecium. Whereas incomplete flower is there in which any one of the floral part is missing. It is also said to be imperfect. Now next is essential or non-essential parts. That means the parts which are essential for the reproduction and which parts which are non-essential for the reproduction process. So the parts, that means the reproductive parts, male and female parts of the plant, they are known as the essential part, and the non-essential parts of the flower are the calyx and the corolla. Now here next is the bracts. Sometimes some other technical terms are there. So perianth, when the petals and the sepals, they are undifferentiated. We cannot differentiate whether it is a petal, whether it is a sepal. Then they are together known as perianth. And when the perianth is non-green in color, that means it is petaloid in nature. If the perianth is green in color like the sepals, it is known as sepaloid perianth. Now bracts. Now these bracts, when a flower, they arise in the axil of the leaf-like structures. Now these leaf-like structures are known as bracts. The bracts may be green in color or they may be colored, like in Bougainvillea. The pink flowers of Bougainvillea, they are the bracts. They are not the petals, but they are actually the bracts. Okay, now see here, Bougainvillea flower. This is the Bougainvillea flower. So these pink color petal-like structures, they are the bracts. Now nectaries are also present in the flower. Now these nectaries, they contain the nectar, which is meant for attracting the insects, because insects sits on these flowers to suck the nectar, because it is a food for the insects, and through this pollination also takes place. So these plants, they have nectars in them. Now come to the sexuality in flowers. Sexuality in flowers, that means male and female and bisexual flowers. Now the anthers of the stamens, they produce the pollen grains, which forms the male gametes or the male cells. Now the ovary of the carpel, they bears the ovules, they form the egg cell or the female gametes. Now the stamens and the carpels, they are the male and the female parts of the flower. So if the flower has both the male and the female parts, they are known as bisexual or hermaphrodite, or just a perfect flower. So what is a hermaphrodite flower? That means male and female, both parts are present on a same flower. Okay. Then next is Unisexual flower. So a flower which has only one reproductive part, that means either the male or either the female, then it is a unisexual flower, or it is also known as imperfect flower. And a unisexual flower, they may be only having the stamens or they may be only having the carpels. The unisexual flower which contains the stamens, they are known as the male flower or the staminate flowers. Then the flower which contains only the carpels, they are known as the female or the pistillate flowers. Now here some other technical terms are there. Neutral flower. Now the flower in which both the male and the female reproductive organs are absent. That means they are the neuter flower, like the ray florets of the sunflower. The sunflower, they contain the ray florets of sunflower. They don't have any female and male reproductive organs. So let us go in detail for the floral parts of the flower. Number one is the calyx. Now usually five sepals are present in a flower. Now the sepals, they may be free. The condition is known as polysepals. If the sepals are fused, then they are known as gamosepals. Sometimes in hibiscus, there may be a second series of sepals and they are known as epicalyx or episepals. Now sepals may be fall off or they may be remain attached to the fruit, like in tomatoes. Calyx, they are attached in tomatoes, like in they may be brightly colored or they may be green in color. Okay. Now here see the diagram of sepals. Now these are green in color. They are free. That means free from here. They are not attached here. Okay. So this is polysepals and gamosepals. That means we cannot differentiate the sepals from the lower side. Okay. We can only identify the number of these sepals from the upper side. So they are fused together. Okay. So this condition is known as gamosepals. Now the function of sepals is they protect the young flowers when they are in a bud condition, and they also helps in photosynthesis process. Next whorl of the flower is the corolla. Usually the petals, they are generally arranged in a single whorl, but sometimes there may be a double whorl of these petals, like in poppy, or they may be spirally arranged. So if the petals are free, then they are polypetalous, or if they are united or they are fused together, then they are known as gamopetalous. Like here, see free petals. Again, we can easily count these petals. So this is polypetalous and fused together. See here, tube-like structures are formed by the petals. So they are fused together and it is a gamopetalous condition. Here see also, this is also showing gamopetalous condition. Now the function of these petals is to attract the insects for pollination. They also protect the stamens and pistils when the petals forms a tube-like structures. Third whorl of the flower is the androecium. Now the number of stamens, they are different in different flowers. Now each stamens, they have long filament and an anther at the top. Now these anther, they are usually bilobed and each lobe has two pollen sacs in which pollen grains are present. Now when these anthers, they get fully matured, the pollen sacs, they ruptures and they releases pollen grains for pollination process. So here is the structure of a pollen grain, anther. Now this is a filament. This is a filament and this is the anther, and inside this anther is a pollen sac in which pollen grains are present, and here there are different shapes of pollen grains and size of pollen grains. Now again in androecium also, the stamens, they may be free as in petunia, or they may be joined in different ways. So they are free, the condition is known as polyandry. embrace. They may be single, they may be double, or they may be several groups. So here see stamens, they are monoadelphous condition. Here stamens are fused and on the upper side anthers are free. So they are single group forming a single group. This condition is monoadelphous. Here two groups of stamens are there. One is here and other one is here. They fuse together and this condition is known as diadelphous condition. Third one is polyadelphous condition. So many stamens are there and they fuse together and they're forming several groups. So this is polyadelphous condition. Next is the gynoecium. The gynoecium, or the fourth whorl of the flower, it is also known as pistil. Now this pistil, it is composed of one or more carpels. Now each carpel, they contain three main parts: the stigma, style and ovary. Now stigma, it is the knob-like structure which is present on the top of the ovary, and it has two or more lobes and they may be sometimes feathery in appearance. Now this stigma, it is covered with the hair and with the glandular papillae. Now this stigma, it is meant for lending the place for pollen during the pollination process. Next is the style. It is again the part of a pistil and it is a tubular slender stalk which connects the stigma and the ovary. Third is the ovary part. Now it is the swollen basal portion which composed of one or many carpels. Now the inner cavity of the ovary, they may be single chamber or they may be divided into several chambers, or we can say locules, in which each containing number of rounded bodies, and they are known as the ovules. So these ovules, they are attached to the ovary wall which is known as placenta. So inflorescence and placentation will read in next class, children. Okay, thank you and have a nice day.